by John Breach at John Breach 1H ago 7 minutes read after a mostly quiet second and third round of the NFL draft on Friday. Don't be surprised if things get absolutely crazy for the final 4 rounds. The final day of the draft can sometimes turn into a circus, but only because that's exactly what the NFL wants. If you tune into the draft on Saturday, here's a small sample of things you might see. A parrot announcing a Buccaneers draft pick. Note, I love parrots. Chewbacca somehow announcing who the next 49ers Wookiee will be, or is it Rookieth? Jaguars announcing multiple draft picks from London where they're not moving, even though their owner just bought a stadium there. The gold medal winning US curling team announcing a pick for the Vikings, and in between all of that, there should also be a draft going on. For a list of the wacky draft announcements going down in rounds 4 to 7, you can click here. It's never easy to predict what's going to happen on the final day of the NFL draft, and that's mainly because the final day consists of 4 mostly unpredictable rounds. However, we're going to try to take some of the unpredictability out of it with a few bold predictions. So what's going to happen on Saturday? Here are 3 bold predictions for the final day of the NFL draft. 1. The Patriots land a possible quarterback of the future. If you've been following the Patriots at all over the past 7 months, you may have noticed that they decided to get rid of all of their backup quarterbacks last. First, it was Jacoby Brissett, who was traded to the Colts in September. 1 month later, the Patriots pulled off possibly the most shocking trade of the 2017, when they shipped Jimmy Garoppolo off to San Francisco. The explanation for these trades is that Tom Brady convinced the Patriots he could play forever, so they figured that they wouldn't have any use for any of their backup quarterbacks. However, science says that Brady can't going to play forever, which means the Patriots need to start thinking about drafting his potential successor. Although they could make that move next year, it makes a lot more sense to do it this year, and that's because Brady is about to turn 41. The good news for the Patriots is that there are 2 quarterbacks left in this year's draft who seemingly fit the mold that Bill Belichick looks for when he's drafting a QB: Richmond's Kyle Lawletter and Washington State's Luke Falk. Lawletter's biggest upside might be the fact that helps viewed as a Jimmy Garoppolo clone, which definitely a good thing based on what I read on Twitter. Jimmy Garoppolo is so handsome I might die. Heather Foley at Hotel Foxtrot, September 12, 2016. Well, that's not exactly football related, but this is. Lawletter is someone who proved in college that helps able to accurately make all the short to medium range throws that would likely be called for in the Patriots offense. Like Garoppolo, Lawletter also will be coming from an FCS school where he was mostly successful. Now, the problem here is that Belichick already had one Garoppolo and he let him go, so why would he go after a Garoppolo clone? That's where Falk comes in. If the Patriots go after a quarterback on Saturday, the bold prediction here is that they take Falk. Although he played in a spread offense in college, Falk has plenty of attributes that Belichick would potentially love. For one, he's accurate. The former WSU quarterback completed 68.3% of his passes during his college career, which is currently the 13th best completion percentage in NCAA history. Also, Falk doesn't turn the ball over, which is a big thing because Belichick abhors turnovers. Well, Belichick hates mistakes, and there's no bigger mistake for a quarterback than a turnover, but that shouldn't be an issue for Falk. Over the past 3 years, Falk threw 106 two-count passes to just 32 interceptions. One thing to keep in mind about Falk is that he played under Mike Leach, and Belichick has actually drafted a quarterback from a Leach-coached team before. Back in 2003, the Patriots drafted Cliff Kingsbury out of Texas Tech. However, Kingsbury was placed on IR during his rookie year and never actually played for the team. Kingsbury, who now coaches at Texas Tech, has clearly proven that he's very football knowledgeable, and if Falk is just half that knowledgeable, then he should be a good fit with the Patriots. On the other hand, if Belichick doesn't think Falk will be able to make the switch from running a college spread offense to running the Patriots offense, then Lawletter seems like a perfectly good fallback option, too. The Raiders will draft a punter. If you've been watching the NFL draft over the past 2 days, then you may have noticed that the Raiders have going slightly old school with their picks. When John Gruden said he was going to turn the clock back to 1998, he wasn't kidding. As a matter of fact, Gruden's draft choices so far have been such a throwback that even his own mom has noticed. Gruden's mom called him and asked if Al Davis was making these picks from heaven. Victor for April 28, 2018. If you haven't been keeping track of the Raiders' choices through the first 3 rounds of the draft, here's a quick rehash. They've completely given up on skill players. With their first 4 picks over the first 3 rounds, the Raiders have taken 2 offensive tackles Kolton Miller, Brandon Parker and 2 defensive linemen PJ Hall, Arden Key. Gruden is going after big uglies, and he's not apologizing to anyone for it. Don't like the Raiders draft? John Gruden has 217 words for you. First round, UCLA OT Kolton Miller. Second, Sam Houston Street DT PJ Halbeard, North Carolina at OT Brandon Parker LSU Arden Key Steelers WR Martavis Bryant pick.twitter.com/TNF5BRNZHS Michael Gelkin at Gelkin NFL April 28, 2018. If Gruden wants to take his old school strategy to the next level, and really channel his inner Al Davis, then his next move will be easy. Hell, draft a punter. No one was better at drafting punters than Davis. Since 1970, the Raiders have only drafted a total of 3 punters. However, 2 of those punters turned out to be 2 of the best in NFL history, in Ray Guy and Shane Lechler. Guy is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and Lechler is going into his 19th in the NFL. Basically, the Raiders know when to grab a once-in-a-generation punter, and this draft just happens to have one in Michael Dickson. During the 2017, the former Texas punter led the nation in net punting yards, punting average and punts inside the 20. Dickson was also named the MVP of the Texas Bowl, which doesn't even sound believable, because how did a punter win MVP? But trust me, it happened. The problem for the Raiders is that Dickson might not last past the 4th round, and the Raiders only have one 4th-round pick, which will be the 10th pick on Saturday, 110th overall. The Raiders do have multiple 5th-round picks, and if they're smart, they'll use one on a punter. The bold prediction here is that the Raiders will take a punter in the 5th round, and that punter will be Dickson, unless he's already off the board. In that case, the Raiders could go after Alabama's J.K. Scott or Florida's Johnny Townsend. If the Raiders want Townsend, they'll probably be able to wait until the 6th round, but if they want Scott or Dickson, they'll likely have to pull the trigger in the 4th or 5th round. 3. Shaquem Griffin ends up in NFC West, but not with the Seahawks any day ago. The bold prediction here was that Griffin would get taken in the 3rd round. Since that didn't happen, we're going to double down here and boldly predict the team and the round where Griffin will be selected on Saturday. Although the former Central Florida linebacker fell out of the 3rd round on Friday, I don't think he'll fall much farther than that, which means he should probably get ready to hear his name called at some point in the 4th round, although Griffin is hoping to be selected by the Seahawks so he can be on the same team as his brother, the Legion of Boom Right Arrow. The Legion of Griffins. Shaquem Griffin is waiting on his phone call. Rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL Draft start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Pick.twitter.com/FenownJoe, NFL on ESPN at ESPN NFL April 27, 2018. That's not where this prediction is headed. Instead, I have Griffin landing in Los Angeles with Sean McVay and the Rams. Obviously, the upside here is that he'll still get to be on the same field with his brother, Shaquille, twice a year. Of course, the downside there is that he'll be facing his brother instead of playing on the same team. Drafting Griffin is a move that almost makes too much sense for the Rams. For one, outside linebacker is definitely one of the team's top needs heading into the final day of the draft. With 3 picks in the 4th round, it's almost a lock that the Rams will select at least one outside linebacker, and the bold prediction is that Griffin will be that linebacker. Wade Phillips is one of the smartest defensive minds in the game, and there's a good chance that he could quickly figure out how to best utilize Griffin. The linebacker from Central Florida, who is missing a hand, is slightly undersized, 6 foot, 227 pounds for his position. But that likely wouldn't matter to Phillips, who could develop several special defensive packages for Griffin, who was named the Peach Bowl MVP this year. Of course, if the Rams don't take Griffin, don't be surprised if the Seahawks end up grabbing him. Seattle's a good fit, and you can bet that Shaquille Griffin will spend some serious time trying to lobby the team to take his brother.